This OOPARTS episode focuses on the conspiracy of the ISIS temple in the Grand Canyon, which started with a republished article from the Phoenix Gazette dating April 5, 1909. I went on a journey across the United States to examine the facts of the article. I started with a visit to the Grand Canyon. Standing over the Grand Canyon is a magical feeling. It is no surprise that many looking out onto the pyramids would compare it to ancient Egypt. The citadels of the canyon look like wind-worn pyramids. In fact, many share the same names. My research started at my local public library with the Egyptians. I read the most peculiar thing in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. It said the ancient Egyptians used to say, "The world fears time, but time fears only the pyramids." Why would time fear the pyramids? Is it a reference to quantum physics and the idea of planar fields, a higher connection? This is a small example of why the people of ancient Egypt fascinate us. There's a knowledge that we feel or see that we lost and we hope to understand again. The conspiracy of the ISIS temple in the Grand Canyon started on the internet with an article in the Phoenix Gazette, so I headed to Phoenix, Arizona. The article claimed that an archaeological expedition funded by the Smithsonian discovered an Egyptian pyramid in the Grand Canyon. G.E. Kincaid, an adventurer, led the team from the Smithsonian. Today we might consider these adventurers the first Western archaeologists. During the expedition he discovered a cave with male mummies covered in clay wrapped in bark fabric near Marble Canyon. There were carved heads sculpted from tiger's eye, similar to the Malay heads found in Tibet, part of modern-day China. Historians attribute these mummies to the Hopi Indians, but since there is no official record of the expedition from the Smithsonian, there is no way to confirm that was the case. Yellow journalism was at its peak from 1895 to 1898 and continued into the turn of the century. It could be argued that this story, although published in the newspaper, was a hoax fabricated to boost sales. I contacted the Arizona Gazette, who would have inherited the archives from the Phoenix Gazette after it was bought and sold several times throughout the century. They had no comment. I was not able to find the original article in the archives of the Phoenix Library. So, almost a century later, an article was posted on a hiking website written by local climbers who claim to have found two sealed entrances to caves located 800 feet above the Colorado River in the Isis Formation. This is in a different area of the park, adjacent to the Marble Canyon. The climbers could not enter the caves because they were sealed, but they were able to see that the entrances were man-made. The entrances were located in a very remote area of the park, and due to limited supplies of water, they were unable to stay and explore them. I contacted the website and they had no knowledge of the writer or the article. The article posted on their website is no longer an active link. The idea of Egyptians in North America fascinated me, and I had to find out if it was a case of yellow journalism from the turn of the century, or could it be possible that a pyramid went undiscovered in the Grand Canyon for all these years? It's not a stretch looking out into the canyon that the formations do resemble pyramids. I wanted to find out what I could from the facts. The first article introduces G.E. Kincaid from Lewiston, Idaho. He says on his trip to Yuma that he discovered some interesting archaeological artifacts while rafting down the Colorado River, but no location was given. Yuma is in the desert on the way to the Grand Canyon, but hundreds of miles away. The second article from April 5, 1909 references a Smithsonian-backed expedition under the direction of Professor S.A. Jordan. The rocks of the Grand Canyon tell a story that started 4,550 million years ago. The canyon was formed 5.6 million years ago. It is possible that a multitude of civilizations could have inhabited the area. I thought about the biblical reference in Genesis of the people that lived before a great flood. The Bible talks about an antediluvian civilization on Earth. The first historical record is of the Native American Indians that inhabited the area at the same time as the ancient Egyptians. It is possible that the Native Americans had a connection to other parts of the world. One could argue that all of these people living on Earth concurrently could have had contact with each other, just as we do today. My burning question was, could it be possible that there is an undiscovered pyramid in one of the most visited parks in the world? I spoke to the Park Service, and the caves in the area of the Isis Formation have not been explored due to lack of resources. No archaeological excavations have been done in the history of the park's creation, according to the Grand Canyon Park staff. As an objective journalist, I had to admit it was fascinating that no one had explored the caves. In the article, it states that the area of the Isis Formation was close to the general public. The Park Service indicated it would be possible to get a hiking permit for that area. However, all caves in the park are off limits. They told me there was an incident of looting where a fire burned Hopi artifacts in the Marble Canyon cave, so they closed all the caves. The park requires 4 months prior reservation to book a backcountry hike, but walk-in permits are sometimes possible depending on the skill level of the hiker because of the challenge of the terrain. The permits issued do not overlap between hikers to give each person a true wilderness experience. The applicant must have substantial proven hiking experience. Hopi and Navajo artifacts have been discovered in the caves near Marble Canyon for the better part of a century. These artifacts were clearly attributed to those specific tribes of Native Americans. I wondered if those finds fueled the story of the Egyptian pyramid. In 1998, the condor population was reintroduced to the area and now occupies many caves in the Isis area, so those caves are strictly forbidden to visitors. The Smithsonian states that they have no record of Kincaid or Jordan. The Smithsonian has searched its files having no mention of a citadel in the Grand Canyon. Their official statement is that they have not found a race of Oriental origin possibly related to the Egyptians. Many have argued that because the Smithsonian promotes the theory of isolationism, that this is one of many archaeological cover-ups. The theory of isolationism states that most civilizations were isolated from each other and there has been little contact between them, especially those separated by water. The discovery of an Egyptian pyramid in the Grand Canyon would prove the theory of isolationism false and give evidence to support the theory of diffusionism. This theory states that throughout history there has been a widespread dispersion of culture and civilization via contact by ship and major trade routes. We know Native Americans built settlements in the caves in the canyons near the Grand Canyon. The Pueblo and the Hopi people considered the Grand Canyon a holy site and made pilgrimages to it. A Hopi legend suggests that ancestors lived in an underworld in the Grand Canyon until dissension arose between the good and the bad. Macheto, a Hopi god, counseled them to leave the underworld, then the people of the One Heart climbed out. The first European visitor on record was explorer Garcia López Cardenas, a reported member of Coronado's expedition to Mexico. The canyon remained largely unexplored by American settlers until just after the Civil War in 1869. It is unknown the origin of the names for many of the formations. Charles Dutton is credited with naming some of the formations. He felt that the formations were greater than any one man, so he used the names of gods and mythical figures. John Wesley Powell, another Civil War veteran with a thirst for adventure, is also accredited with some of the naming, but no names can be directly linked to him by historical record. There is not a direct link to any of the explorers to the Egyptian naming of Isis, Cheops, Osiris, and Ra, all located in proximity to each other adjacent to the Isis Formation. I decided to go back to the root of the mystery, the Egyptians. The Giza pyramids were constructed using geometry that we have only begun to understand. Many believe the Egyptians incorporated sacred geometry when constructing the site. Sacred geometry uses specific angles in relation to vortexes of energy. The angles are significant to the Earth, Sun, Moon, constellations. You could argue the universe plays a role in the geometry combined with the principles of quantum physics. All still a mystery as to how it works. Using the principles would allow for the harness of energy in ways that we don't fully understand today. Data gathered from geometry shows that they were built to have a direct relationship with the Earth. There are 25 pyramid inches in a cubit. There are 365 cubits in the square base. There are 365 days in a calendar year. 1 pyramid inch is equal in length to 1/500th millionth of the Earth's axis of rotation. The angles of the pyramid are exact equivalent of our modern-day pi. They were constructed of granite composed of feldspar and quartz. It was composed of 55% silicon quartz, the same substance that we use in computers today. They were constructed with such precision that all evidence suggests that they were built using ultrasonic drilling machines. If that was possible, then how did they power those machines? I found a theory that was very surprising in a book called Forbidden History. The Earth's energy includes mechanical, thermal, electrical, magnetic, nuclear, and chemical, each having a source for sound. The conductivity of quartz could generate sound waves above the range of human hearing. Because energy will follow the path of least resistance, it may be probable that the pyramid is capable of vibrating at a harmonic frequency in tune with the Earth. Resin on the walls of the king's and queen's chambers and lack of artifacts found in them allow for the conclusion that these chambers had an entirely different purpose. The Nile, in close proximity, could provide a water source for steam. Could the pyramid be an ancient power plant? A power plant would be a compelling reason to undertake the largest construction project in the history of civilization. It would be a groundbreaking discovery, an ancient energy source that does not destroy the Earth. We will not know the truth about a hidden pyramid in the Grand Canyon until the caves are explored. In March 2008, the government flooded the Colorado River to rebuild the local ecosystem. Could the hydroelectric power awaken a sleeping giant hidden in the majestic formation of the Grand Canyon? The greatest thing in life is there are so many possibilities. I will keep searching for clues and continue to uncover the truth one question at a time.